rebuilt.
We'll do that.
Because homes remodeling here are far more challenging than they are in the United States.
We are officially live. So hello, everyone. My name is Mariana. You are watching Mexico Relocation Guide, and welcome to today's live stream. I'm joined here by our friend James, who is
Hi guys, how's it going?
Who's living in Los Cabos. And I'm going to give you guys a chance here to join us. So I see that some of you have already joined in. Thank you so much for being here already. But I'm going to give everybody a chance to join in because I know that not everybody joins in like right on the dot. In the meantime, I would love to hear from you in the comments. Let me know what you're doing for Christmas. My family and I still don't know what we're doing for Christmas, which is very strange for a Latin family. I mean, obviously we're going to get together and probably cook something and or eat something together, but we just don't know what yet and where and those kinds of details. It seems like this year, I don't know about you guys at home. I don't know about you, James, too, but it seems like this year has been really busy. Has that been your life too, James?
Yeah, this year has been hectic, and I'm sure in the States it's probably been hectic too with the election and stuff.
A lot of people, are very, I feel it from the emails that we get and from you guys at home who write to us or maybe even comment on some of our live streams that you're kind of ready for this year to be over.
Yeah, I think everyone's like at the end of the year.
Yeah. So I can certainly share that sentiment that, it's been a hectic year. And I feel like we haven't been able to catch our breath here recently at Mexico Relocation Guide, which I'm very, very, very blessed for. I don't take it as a complaint at all. I'm very happy about it. But yeah, I would love to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comments. What are you doing for Christmas? And we're going to get started here in a minute. James, by the way, is living in Los Cabos, and he's going to talk to us about why he moved to Mexico. He's from Arizona, why he chose Los Cabos. He has a lot of experience in the real estate market, both in the United States and then more recently in Mexico with remodeling, with, buying a house for himself, remodeling his own home. He has a beautiful house. And he's going to share just some of the cultural shocks that he experienced, not only in real estate, but also with just, hiring people in Mexico, and maybe hopefully save you at home some of those frustrations because you're going to have some of the right expectations when you move to Mexico and how culturally things are different here. And, other things like what does he do for fun? And, how did he get connected into his local network? And can he get by with, his basic Spanish? And can you get by at home with basic Spanish if you were moving to Cabo? And what are some of the pros and cons of living in Cabo based on James's experience? So, yeah. Hi, Angel. Thank you so much for being here. I'd like to relocate to Cabo, so this vid is for me. Yeah, you're in the right place. By the way,
that's a good choice.
Yeah. By the way, if any of you need to pop out or, go do something else, this will be available for replay on our YouTube channel as well as on our Facebook page. Holidays will be spent trying to understand income taxes for temp visa expats in Mexico. Okay. That sounds like a great subject. Hello from Orlando. Thank you so much for being here. So I'm going to give you guys some information at the very end on like how you might be able to get connected to not only James, but some other realtors that we have in the relocation guide. So definitely stay tuned for that. From Ohio. Thanks for joining us. All right, well, let's get started. James, thank you so much for being here with me tonight.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. So you're from Arizona, but you decided 2 years ago to move to Los Cabos in Baja California Sur.
Yes. Well, it was actually Cabo was not my first choice.
Okay.
I find a lot of people that move to Cabo or maybe just to Mexico in general or another country either deal with a divorce or a death in the family or some huge transition in their life. They need to make changes. Both my parents died in 2019 and 2021, and I kind of knew that was coming. I mean, just because of their age. And I was planning on moving to another country anyways, just because I wanted to experience a different life. I love the United States, have no problems with it. It was not because of money reasons. It wasn't because of politics. I just wanted to experience another culture. And, me being in construction for the past 10 years, my entire crew in Phoenix, that's where I lived for probably 30 years, was all from Sinaloa, Mexico. And I tell you, these guys were amazing. Mm-hmm. They had they were some of the smartest, kindest, gentlest people I've ever met. They were the hardest working guys, always had a great attitude. And it just seemed I got along with the Mexican culture no matter where I was. And they're just a very genuine people, very humble and authentic. And, I'm blessed to live here. And I was originally looking into moving into Panama. And then I was also looking into Colombia. And they just had too many issues with their government, too much red tape. And I had initially picked Panama, and I had hired an attorney to get my residency visa. And this was like right in the middle of COVID lockdown for Panama. And we weren't locked down in Phoenix at all. But he said, well, when you get here, because you can get all your paperwork done via the internet before you even get there. And he said, you're going to have to wear a mask when you get here. And then you can only go out of your house 3 days a week. Yeah. And Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And the women can only go out Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays. I'm like, look, I'm single. I'm not wearing a mask. And I want to meet an opposite sex. Yeah. I want to meet a woman. I said, I'm not going to be stuck in my home. And I said, so Panama's off the list. I didn't want to be controlled or manipulated by any government. And so that was off the list. And so I had been to Cabo 8 times on vacation, and I absolutely loved it. So I said, it makes sense. And I originally saw a video, I think right before I chose to go to Cabo, like something popped up on my feed about Todos Santos. And I was like, I'm going to check out that little town because I could buy a piece of land right on the beach for $300,000. Mm-hmm. So I sold my home. I had a 3,000 square foot home that I had built from scratch in Phoenix. And I sold it at the top of the market. The market crashed probably 6 weeks after I left. The market was starting to crash. Mm-hmm. Me and my friend who's a realtor, and I know a ton about real estate. We were studying the market. He knew that we were going to sell the house. And he's like, James, you've got to list it now. And I'm like, okay. So we put it in, and I got the full price for it. And the market slowly crashed right after a little bit.
Oh, so you sold it, right?
Yeah. And I sold, and then I hired an auction company to sell all my furniture and all my possessions. And then 24 hours before the auction, I ended up selling like I had a huge collection of like baseball and football cards since I was a kid.
Oh, wow.
And I sold it to one of my friends who owns a card shop, and I gave him a good deal on it. I had probably like $30,000 worth of cards, and I gave it to him for like $6,000. And he was real pissed that I sold those cards. And I'm like, who cares? I said, I got a whole house full of stuff you can sell. The guy refused to do the auction. And I said, and he had done all the advertising on Facebook and everywhere else. I said, I'll do the auction. So I said, I have no problem. I said, I can sell anything. So
yeah, so things. If anybody knows anything about them, it's you.
So I ended up selling all the contents. I had like 350 people show up in 3 days, and I got rid of everything. The only thing I had left was 2 suitcases and my dog. Yeah. And then we just got in the truck and went to Mexico, went to Todos Santos. I spent 10 days to realize that town was not for me, because I need paved roads and I need a Costco.
Yeah, it was too basic, a little too rural.
Basic, yeah.
Beautiful. Very, very pretty.
Town. It's got its charm, but I've got a Home Depot, I've got a Costco, and Amazon delivers here. So I'm pretty set.
Yeah. And it's more of a city with more infrastructure and not so much underdevelopment and better medical care, those kinds of things, which are important for.
Plus I think the most amazing beaches in the world, not just in Mexico, I think the world. I've been to 30 different countries. They have, you can walk somewhere on the beach sometimes for 5 miles, not see one person.
Yeah.
And I mean, you go to San Diego or LA, there's like, you're tripping over thousands of people just walking 5 feet, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Now, what area of Los Cabos do you live in? So for people at home who might be wondering, Cabos is broken up into 2 cities, either Cabo San Lucas or San Jose del Cabo. So you live in Cabo San Lucas.
Yes, I live in Cabo San Lucas in a subdivision called, in a section called El Tazal.
El Tazal? How do you spell that?
EL space TEZAL.
Okay. For anybody who's wondering, I put it in the comments because
Yeah,
I'm sure people want to go look it up.
Yeah,
and see.
it's pretty much, it's one of the most popular areas to live in, probably the most popular area to live in. And, you know, I've got Home Depot within 2 blocks of my house. I've got Fresco, which is the gourmet grocery store, which is, you know, 3 blocks from my house. I got Costco half a mile away.
Yeah.
And downtown's 5 minutes away. I'm 20 minutes from the airport. You know, I'm 5 minutes from the beach. You know,
Really well located. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really located, and you know, you can get anywhere in town in 15 to 25 minutes. You can get to San Jose in 25 minutes. I go a lot of times to San Jose. It's a beautiful city. They got amazing restaurants, you know, and it's more of the historical city. And I don't know, both cities I love. I like Cabo a little bit more than I'm a real estate investor. I want to be where the action is. So Cabo is where it's at.
So that's what I've heard. I've heard that Cabo San Lucas is more of the, you know, nightlife city, and San Jose del Cabo is more of the family-oriented, quieter at night.
I want to say that.
Okay.
It's not evil, brother. No, it's just, they have a few more bars downtown in Cabo San Lucas, but I think this whole town is relaxed. Mm-hmm. You know, everyone, wherever you go, everyone's in a good mood. Everyone's tranquilo. You know, it's just an amazing city. Both of them.
It's easygoing. It's chill.
Yeah, it's easygoing. Yeah.
Nobody's honking at each other. Nobody's like...
I can't even remember the last time I heard a car horn. It's probably been months. you know.
So that's good. It doesn't feel as tense as like maybe some cities in the United States where people feel like they're all in.
Definitely not by the Mexican people.
So going back to, you know, the area that you live in. So you were looking into Todos Santos because you thought, well, you know, I can buy a lot there for $300K that's ocean facing. So how did you end up like, okay, so now you bought a house in Los Cabos. How did you find this house? How did you find, you know, the property that you wanted to remodel? Or maybe give people a little bit more background as to
it's a process because you're going to have to go through. I went through trial and error, and that's how I've been my entire life. If something works, great. If it fails, keep going. You know, so I looked in Todos Santos. You know, 300,000, 200,000 to 300,000. That was right on the beach. And I found 8 different parcels in Todos Santos. And I told the realtor, I said, I need to talk to your local architect, who's ever the best in town. I want them to look up these properties because they couldn't tell me if I could build on them or not. And there was no homes around there. So I was like, this is a huge red flag. There's no homes there. So I contacted the local architect. They were nice enough to look into it. It turns out all 8 of those lots you could not build on. So they were private, they were protected by the government. And, you know, these people were actually trying to sell them on MLS. They should be in jail for trying to sell that stuff.
It's a shame.
So luckily, I did my due diligence and checked with the architect, and you know, because I would have been screwed. I would have been out.
You wouldn't have known otherwise,
And so then I moved down closer to Cabo after I left Todos Santos. I didn't really like the town that much, so you know, probably because I'm a clean freak. I don't like dirt roads everywhere. I need at least half of them paved. Sure. So I got to a place called Rancho Magriño, which is about 20, 30 miles outside of Cabo. And, you know, I found a lot right on the beach. It was huge, 2-acre lot. Okay. They were selling for $650,000, you know, because I was going to plan to build my dream home there.
And you could get a deed on that one, and that one was
And the home was like, the guy would not budge on the price, and there was no HOA there. And I was just thinking about it. I'm going to have to get a solar system. I'm going to have to, because there's no power there, and there's no paved roads. And I'm just like, I'm not going to deal with this, because I did research into solar, and it was like so expensive at the time.
Sure.
And I just said, I'm done with that. So I drove a little bit further to Cabo, and because I didn't want to be on the inskirts. I wanted to be a little bit outside of town to have more privacy. And so I found this subdivision called Rolling Hills, and I found my own perfect lot. They had paved roads, they had electricity. I'm sold.
Yeah.
And I found a half-acre lot. I can build my own dream home.
You still have an open view.
Yeah, and I don't have to go through the builder. I can build it myself as long as the architectural plans are approved with them. And I was completely ecstatic. So I told my realtor at the time, and I said, look, I need a project, because I can't build on this for another year and a half, because the electricity wasn't run to the property. I said, go find me the ugliest house in the most beautiful subdivision, and I will fix it and make it the nicest house. And that's what I did. The house that I bought was like, it was in one of the nicest subdivisions in Cabo San Lucas. And it was new construction when I bought it. And the guy did everything wrong. He was an American, probably led in the wrong direction by other people. I don't think he knew much about construction. There was like probably over 500 code violations on this home. And I basically pretty much tore it down to the ground and redid everything. But it was such a great, rewarding learning experience. I've done 700 remodels, and this was probably my most challenging, because you're demoing concrete instead of drywall. Everything's block wall and concrete here. So for 6 months, we were jackhammering every day, like me and 15 guys. We were jackhammering every day for 10 hours a day. And it's grueling work. And as soon as we got done with the demo, I was just like, wow, this is flying, and I had a really phenomenal crew, and they're going to help me build my house on the Pacific side, because the lot I bought, it's on the Pacific side. It's like 10, 15 minutes outside of Cabo, and it's just gorgeous over there. And on the Pacific side, it's 5 degrees cooler than Cabo San Lucas, and you get that nice breeze all day, 24/7.
So this house that you remodeled, the one that you sent me the video to,
yes,
I think is gorgeous. This house that you remodeled, that was, you did a lot of work on. When you bought it, what's the land around it? Like, what is the land of the actual home? Like, what is the size of the home, and how much?
The home is it's 4,400 square feet interior livable space, and it's got a 800 square foot covered patio.
Okay.
And it's got a 50-foot lap pool. It's a 50-foot lap pool and swim pool and play pool. So the pool's enormous. I think it's like the photographer took pictures. He's like, this is the biggest pool I've seen in Cabo.
Yeah.
So
my motto has
always been go big or go home. So
yeah.
The master suite and bathroom is 1,100 square feet. I mean, it's an entertainer's dream.
Yeah.
And the downstairs, I've got a downstairs unit that's perfect for tenants. You can rent it out for probably $2,000 to $2,500 a month. And it's ideal for tenants or for family, extended family. And it's got its own separate parking space, and it's a private entrance. You'll never see them. Or if you have like an entitled teenager, you don't want to deal with them. Stick them down in the luxurious basement. But, it's a wonderful area. It's a wonderful area. But
how much did you buy it for?
I could go a year without seeing anyone and be fine.
Yeah, it's very private. It's very private. What was the listing price when you bought it?
I bought it was originally $700, and I negotiated down to $645, and that's what we closed at. So, but remodeling here has been, it has its challenges. As I said, I've done 700 of these, and this one's been far the most challenging, not only because of the construction, but material costs are expensive out here. They're like 35, maybe sometimes 40% more than the United States. I ended up getting a lot of my, and your options here are extremely limited.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the tile stores are nowhere near the size of what they are in the States. I mean, the tile store I used to go back in Phoenix is the size of Costco.
Yeah.
You know, the one here is like the size of my kitchen, you know?
Yeah.
And so I ended up ordering a lot of the material either from the States. I ordered some material from China, you know, other countries and stuff. I have to get super creative because I want to put the best product on the market possible. So buyers just fall in love, you know, because 90% of the market here is, you know, your traditional hacienda, you know, and that's not what I designed. And I don't want to be like the next door neighbor. I want something like what you find in America or California or Arizona or Florida.
Yeah.
You know?
You want like a San Diego home without the San Diego.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's very modern.
For a fraction of the price. So.
Yeah. And I mentioned I wanted to bring James on because, you know, we do bring on a lot of people onto the channel that are maybe living on a very limited budget, or maybe they're looking for, you know, homes in the 150s, 200Ks, or rentals in the, you know, $500s, $800 a month. But there's a good chunk of people also that are not moving to Mexico because they're looking to lower their cost of living. Mm-hmm. Maybe they are going to spend the same amount on a home, like, for example, James did, a $700,000 home, $645K. So, you know, within that range, you're not going to buy something like that in California with those views and that neighborhood and this lifestyle, right? Obviously, you're not in California, you're in Mexico. But I do want to show that, you know, you can spend also the same amount of money, and instead of maybe like lowering your cost of living, you might be spending the same amount, but your quality of life is going to be nicer. It's going to be greater. It's going to be, you know, more luxurious for the same amount that you would be spending for like a very, very suburbia type of home in, you know, California or the United States, other parts of the United States. So yeah, sorry, James. I wanted to explain that to the audience because I think it's important that to show that you can live on very little in Mexico, yes, but you can also live on a lot of money, and you know, there's everything in between. It's not just like pinching pennies.
Yeah, I think, well, Cabo is the most expensive city in Mexico. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Mexico City is technically the most expensive.
Okay.
You're looking at like price per square meter, but I'm sure Cabo's up there. There's no denying it. Also, it's a much smaller city, so.
I looked at my expenses one day. I was curious because I wrote down all my yearly and monthly expenses in Phoenix compared to Cabo, and it was almost identical. Yeah. It was almost identical. And the thing that really, I mean, so Cabo's kind of like a bad comparison, you know, but I'm sure if you live in California or most others, Arizona's pretty cheap. If you live in California, you're going to save a lot of money coming here. Exactly. Anyways, because I mean, I finished remodeling my house where I'm selling it for, can I tell you the price or no?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's $2.259 million. And I put a ton of money in. I experienced no expense, but this home in California easily be $10-20 million.
Exactly.
You know? But I got the same beaches, and I'm warmer. Same beaches, they're nicer, and people are generally nicer here than California.
The people are nicer too.
So I mean, I love it here. There's nothing. I mean, the bad things are the roads. Half the roads are dirt. You know, I'm not going to BS anyone. Half the roads are dirt. We have power issues. You know, during the summer, we have brownouts, you know, and if that happens, I usually go to San Jose for the day, you know, or I'll go to the beach or I'll go hiking or, you know, generally I'll go to Costco because they have some of the bigger companies all have generators or something. Of
course.
But I'll find something to do to keep my time idle, you know. But I can't. There's the issues with the roads and the sidewalks and the water issues, because there's water issues too here. We run out of water. You know, water is expensive here. I have a 20,000 liter cistern in the backyard. I'm on city water, but I used to get it twice a month. They'd fill up the cistern. if anyone doesn't know what a cistern is, it's a huge water tank, usually in your front yard or your backyard or your driveway. And it's a big hole in the ground that's made out of concrete block. And you store all your water here because you don't have city water like you do in the States. And so the city either delivers water once or twice, and it almost fills up the tank, because I got a big water tank. And then if I run out of their water, I have to call private water, and that's expensive. It's 16. I get a pretty good price because I've negotiated a deal with the guy. Okay. I get 16,000 liters for 1,800 pesos. Which
that's
is
about $100.
$90.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. We go through like 2 water trucks a month. We're using a lot. So I mean, that's next year. I'm gonna be more conservative with water, but it evaporates here. It's hotter than hell. So.
Yeah, and if you're running a pool, that's obviously going to cost you.
Yeah, that thing sucks a lot of water. So
yeah,
not as much as Phoenix, but it does.
Yeah, especially in the summer when it's really, really hot. Yeah. Infrastructure, like, let's talk about that, because I think, living in Mexico is can be really nice. The culture is obviously the number one reason that a lot of people stay. They just, they tell us all the time that people is really the reason that they love Mexico so much. It might have not been the number one reason that got them there, but once they're here, they're like, I really love the people. But there are some cons and some negatives that some people just cannot overcome. And one of those is infrastructure, like, for example, the lack of, great paved roads everywhere, or, running water from the city available to you. You might have to buy your own, even though the city is supposed to give you some. And it varies depending on the city that you live in, by the way, how that works. But, those kinds of things. So do you have many people that you talk to in Los Cabos that are foreigners that have moved from the United States or Canada or other
places?
Yeah,
tons. Yeah, tons.
What do you hear amongst your circle are some of the biggest gripes that people have from living in Los Cabos particularly?
Oh, complaints about Los Cabos? Electricity is a huge thing, because electricity in Los Cabos, because they say we're on an island, which is a bunch of BS. We're not on an island. Yeah. We're connected to the States. We're connected to the
peninsula.
They think we're on an island. I'm like, no, we're on a peninsula. You just do a U-turn. That's it. Yeah. So my electricity is very expensive. It's like, the last, because they bill every 2 months here. So the last 6 months, I've had to pay 20,000 pesos for 60 days. So that's $500 a month. It's not extreme.
That's pretty pricey for.
It's pretty high. My highest bill in Phoenix was $350, and it gets 120 there.
This is for your 2 homes, or this is only for one?
No, just for one home.
Okay, is that for the 4,400 square foot house?
Yeah, the 4,400 square foot home. But I mean, it doesn't. You think that's normal?
No, I think that's definitely high. I mean, it sounds like, but I don't know how much electricity you're running in that house.
I'm pretty conservative, but I mean, we're only running like one mini split at a time. Maybe
that sounds
2.
Very expensive.
Yeah.
That mini split might be trying to cool the entire house.
I guess so. I don't know. I run my pool. I dialed it back from 9 hours to 6 hours. I've tried to make changes, and it's just like, if you're in that red zone, you're red flagged as an abuser or whatever,
Your rate goes up.
Yeah, your rate goes up. And it's really difficult to talk to them. It took me forever to get the bill in my name. It took them like 3 months just to do that.
Yeah.
So mainly water, electricity, and roads are the biggest 3 complaints, and the sidewalks,
or the lack of sidewalks.
Lack of sidewalks.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love it here. I go hiking 5-6 days a week. I live right on the mountain in El Tizal, overlooking the ocean. And I go to the gym 5 days a week. I go to the beach all the time. There's always something to do. I mean, the weather's perfect 12 months a year. How you can complain? 10 months a year. So
yeah.
the humidity I've had to get used to, because I'm from Phoenix, and it's like the humidity is 10 to 20%. So it's like I think the weather there is perfect. They just don't have an ocean.
Yeah, you never sweat.
They just have no ocean. So, I've been lived there for 3 years. That's what I'm accustomed to. So I'm going to sweat more in August and September. But usually 9-10 months a year, it's perfect here. So
yeah. So one thing that people might not be aware of is a lot of you might be, but a lot of you at home that have never researched this, Mexico subsidizes everyone's electricity up to a certain amount. And the central highland areas of Mexico are usually very temperate in climate. So the weather doesn't fluctuate as much as in, for example, Los Cabos or other beach areas of Mexico. So the beach areas of Mexico and other really warm zones of Mexico get subsidized up to a certain amount too, but the price per like kilowatt or wattage use of electricity is different than if you were living in the Central Highlands. So in areas like Los Cabos, Playa del Carmen, Cancun, other areas where it gets really warm, Mérida, for example, those people are going to pay more for the same consumption after a certain amount than somebody living in Mexico City or Guadalajara, where, the weather doesn't get as hot. And that's why places like maybe James, because he has a pretty big house. I mean, 4,400 square feet. I don't care where you live. That's a pretty big house. Regardless, the government will subsidize up to a certain amount. And then anything that you use more from that amount, they put you into another bracket called the DAC. And it's really hard to get off of that bracket after you have surpassed that amount. So that's what I'm sure you're talking about, James, that you're trying to negotiate with them. Like, hey, I'm trying to be more conservative now.
It's harder to negotiate when you don't speak fluent Spanish.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's hard for them to remove that. They will eventually if they can see that you have actually lowered your consumption. Mm-hmm. But then they start charging you even more. So it's really important in Mexico for you to not run your air conditioning if you live in a really hot area 24/7, because otherwise you do get penalized. And that's across Mexico. It doesn't matter if you live in the Central Highlands too. You can get penalized as well. So if you're running servers in your house and you're running electricity to them all the time, that can also increase your usage.
Well, the one thing I did is when I was breaking down all my bills between Phoenix and Cabo San Lucas, the one thing that's always that just made it so easy, was the property taxes here are nothing. They're absolutely nothing. I live in a $2 million house. My property taxes are at $700 a year. They'd be $4,000 a year in Arizona. I don't know what they'd be in Texas, but in California, they'd probably be easily 10 grand,
For a $2 million home, you're looking at 20K or something like that. 20K. I mean, I guess it depends on which state you're
in. But the great thing about Mexico is if you pay your property taxes and a lot of bills in advance, they give you a 20-30% discount.
Yeah.
And
then if you're over 60, you get you get a discount for that too.
Oh, do you? I didn't know that. So.
Yeah. So you definitely get the biggest discount if you pay early than when it's due. But so that is also a reason why the infrastructure is not as tip top, because they're not collecting these thousands and thousands of dollars in property taxes.
Yeah. What I did learn on my end, and if anyone is going to be building a house in Mexico, they can always call me. I can help them, just to give them free advice or help them any way that I could have. But I did find out I'm building my next home with ICF block, which is insulated concrete foam.
Okay.
And it's basically, it's a styrofoam block with the concrete middle core. And one of my friends that I met built a house in San Jose, and we measured his temperature from the inside and the outside in the summer. It was 10 degrees cooler, and he didn't even have the air conditioner on.
Wow. Okay.
And he showed me his CFE bills, and I think his highest one was like 2,800 pesos, which is, roughly $140. And, he had a 3,200 square foot house. So
is this concrete block significantly more expensive than regular
Oh
condo?
yeah, it's significantly more expensive. But the thing is, if you're going to be living here long term, it's worth it.
Yeah.
I view CFE as the
Just for your
cartel.
personal comfort.
Yeah, yeah. Well, plus it is going to be less humid in the home with this type of block construction.
Mm.
But it's someone that if someone's going to be building a home, they got to make sure that they're going to be living there for 10 plus years. It'd be worth it because I don't want to deal with CFE. I look at them; they're like the cartel of Mexico.
Yeah.
I don't want to pay them a dime. And
You have to, but you don't want to.
I want to pay them the least amount of money possible.
Sure. Yeah.
You
When you and I spoke on the phone,
Mhm.
earlier to schedule today's live stream, you mentioned something that I think a lot of people have heard about, but it's one thing to hear about it, but then it's another thing to live it. And that is the culture of mañana and the culture of like things don't get done as quickly, especially when you're building and remodeling something, because time is money, when you're remodeling. So maybe you can talk to people about your experience, hiring locals and what that's like when things don't move as quickly, or how just give people some background into what you experienced.
With what's that? I'm sorry, I got distracted.
Oh, it's okay.
Reading someone's comment.
When it's just common in Mexico, whenever you hire people, that they might say that they're going to show up at 10 a.m., but they don't show up at 10 a.m. They might not even show up that day. And for people to know that is a cultural norm. It's not the greatest cultural norm, but it is a cultural norm. And maybe you can give people some other background into what it's like to hire local people. Like, one, how do you find them? And two, how do you communicate with them if you don't dominate the language?
Yeah, I was very fortunate because when I found my crew, a friend recommended me them in the neighborhood, and he was another American, and he said, "I've got a good crew of construction guys. If you need one, I know you're remodeling the house." And he's like, "If you want to come over to my house," and my friend Bobby told me this, "You want to come over to my house and look at the tile work and everything else they did to check their work, I'd be happy to show you." So I went over to his house. It looked great. I met Carlos, my foreman, and we just hit it off right away. He speaks pretty good English, and we became really good friends. And over the past year and a half, and is someone I generally trust more than anyone, in this world. And it's
That's good.
I did hire one crew before I met him. It wasn't a bad experience. It's just you have to be able to work with people, and if it's not working, you just got to cut ties. And just hire them for a small job, see how it goes, and if it works out, great, give them a bigger task, and if it doesn't work out, cut them. You can find people anywhere. You're through friends and around town. There's guys at Home Depot all the time looking for work. There's guys everywhere in town looking for work. I mean, this whole city is under construction. There's not going to be, it's going to be probably harder to find, a crew long term versus short term, but there's a lot of work available here, and there's so much opportunity in Cabo. A lot of people from the rest of the country are moving to Cabo because they want a better life, for them and themselves and their family, because there's a lot of opportunity here compared to the rest of Mexico.
Yeah. So you think Cabo's it for you? You're happy there. You think you're gonna
I'm gonna live here long term. I don't know. Maybe in 10 years, I might go to somewhere in Asia, or I don't know, or Italy or Greece. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I love it here. I don't have any complaints. I told you my complaints, but that's not going to do any good. It's just something I have to deal with. The States isn't perfect either, so.
Oh, of course, no country's perfect. Yeah.
Problems, but I mean, the weather is great. 9-10 months out of the year, the people are amazing, and life is perfect.
For a lot of people that might not be used to living in humidity, kind of like you, and might be looking into maybe also building a house, or maybe just, even renting, it doesn't matter really. What do you think are some things I would like to focus maybe actually on building, because I think it's important for people to know,
Okay.
like, what are some things that they need to look out for that might be mold, those kinds of things when you're building a house, and how to best, use the right materials so that you can help prevent it.
Just speak to your contractor or whoever you're going to be dealing with, because they use a lot of PVC and CPVC for all the construction out here. They don't use copper pipes out here. They don't use ABS pipes. ABS pipes are the black pipes. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Not really, but I'm
Okay.
sure maybe other people are watching
Yeah,
are.
if you go underneath your kitchen sink or the line coming from the street to your house is an ABS pipe. It's a black pipe. It's
Okay.
very thick. It's like twice or five times the strength of CPVC or PVC, and they don't use it out here. And you just have to trust who you're working with, and just, as I said, give them a small task, see how they are, see how they treat you. If they treat you like you want to be treated, continue to work with them. If they're showing up late all the time, or they're smelling of booze, don't hire them. Get rid of it.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to put up with that crap. So
Fair enough.
it's just trial and error. So I think most of the guys I've ran in here are very hardworking. They want to earn a decent living, and they want to get hired again. So
Yeah, especially somebody who really needs the job will
Yeah.
definitely try their hardest to keep the job they have.
yeah.
Speaking of, like, you drove down, so like you brought your car to Cabo with you,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
since, you're talking about some of the roads that you experienced and not having, the best like infrastructure, maybe potholes, things like that, which are very prevalent across all of Mexico. Do you recommend that people bring a one specific type of car versus another kind of car, or?
You can bring any car you want, but I brought my SUV here, and we happen to, what is it called, the free zone?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I bought my SUV here, and I'm kind of spoiled. I treat myself to a new car every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back to the States. I just bought another one in last year in December, when the 2024s came out. So you can buy a car because you live in the free zone and still have U.S. plates.
You don't have to get a temporary import.
Yeah, you don't have to get you don't have to import your vehicle. And another thing is, you can register your car through South Dakota here in Cabo. It's the only state in the United States where you can register online, and you don't have to live in that state.
Did you get South Dakota plates?
Yeah, I got South Dakota plates, so you don't have to go do emissions test or registration.
Car registration, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to do that. You can do that all online. They mail you new stickers, and my sister mails it to me from Phoenix, and it's just easy. And
but you do have to go for one day, right? You have to spend 24 hours there.
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
When you first set it up, you do have to travel to South Dakota and spend 24 hours there.
No, you don't. No,
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't.
Is that how you did it?
Yeah, I did everything online.
Okay,
I did everything online.
got it.
So
So yeah, for anybody wondering, I know this is kind of a trick that a lot of people use. I don't know much about it because I personally haven't researched a ton about it, but I know people like what James is talking about have done, which is, if you live somewhere like Florida or really any state that requires you to live in that state for you to be able to register your vehicle every year, and then pay the taxes to the state to register that vehicle. South Dakota is a little bit different. A lot of RVers that are traveling throughout the United States or North America are using this trick also of getting plates in South Dakota, because, like James mentioned, you don't have to live in South Dakota for you to continue getting plates for that state. So you can drive back to the United States and still be perfectly legal. And then for those of you wondering what the free zone is, the free zone is made up of a few states across Mexico that are usually bordering another country. For Baja California Sur. It's not exactly, Baja California Sur is the only exception where it doesn't border the United States directly, but it is part of the free zone. So any car, any US plated car or Canadian plated car in the free zone doesn't have to get a temporary import permit, which is a permission that Mexican customs gives you to be able to drive that foreign plated car into Mexico. And it's only given to tourists, and it's only given to temporary residents, not permanent residents. So if you're a permanent resident, this is the only time where you're able to drive your foreign plated car into Mexico, as long as that car stays in the free zone. So as long as you don't drive it to, other parts of Mexico that are not in the free zone. And the free zone is made up of Baja California Sur, parts of Tamaulipas, parts of Chihuahua, parts of Sonora, Quintana Roo, and parts of Chiapas, because those all border other countries. So yeah, it's a great benefit to live in Baja, because you save yourself that hassle, that bureaucratic process, and paying the deposit, and then having to leave or exit the country with your car after 4 years if you're a temporary resident. So
it's a very easy drive too. If you want to go to Phoenix, or you want to go to San Diego or LA, it's a very easy drive. I mean, it's a 2-day drive. I wouldn't recommend driving too much at night, but Guerrero Negro is usually where I stay at. It's the halfway point. When I go to Phoenix or San Diego, but I don't mind driving at all. Some people, it's like an hour and a half flight, or to Phoenix or San Diego. So,
yeah. Do you drive back often?
I've gone back to Phoenix to bring truckloads of stuff back here, that you can't find in Cabo. So,
do you drive back often? Like, when was the last time you drove back?
Probably it's been a while. It's been like last August, like a year. I went to go get all my pool equipment.
Got it.
I got my pool filter. I got my pool pump. All my pool equipment, because it was half the price in the States, and so I drove back there, visited some family, and then bought my pool equipment, and then brought that and some other stuff back. But
right on.
So,
well, we have a lot of questions coming up from the audience. So, you ready to start taking some questions from people who are wondering some things? All right, let's see. I'm going to try to pick out the ones that have specific questions about Los Cabos. So first of all, thank you all so much for posting your questions. I hope what you've learned so far has given you some tidbits of insight. Yeah, I guess we asked this right now, right? Like, is there a better car to drive, to drive the Baja roads? It sounds like you have an SUV.
I have an SUV, but really you can drive anything. I mean, all the main roads are paved. There are going to be some dirt roads here, but they're pretty smooth. But I mean, there's a lot of speed bumps here, and they're enormous. The speed bumps here, they can take out a small semi truck. So I wanted an SUV where I can fly over the speed bumps, and not bottom out my car, because I got an SUV with the biggest tires on it. So, because I didn't want to deal with it. The speed bumps here are a nightmare compared to the States.
The speed bumps in Mexico are no joke. I mean, they'll put
them in such random spots. You'll be in the middle of the freeway with no businesses around, no school around. Oh, let's put a speed bump.
Yeah.
They have no reason.
Somebody advocated for that speed bump, and so they put it up and where it doesn't belong. So it sounds like you sold almost everything back home.
Yeah, I sold everything. The only thing I brought was two suitcases of clothes in my Doberman, and you really don't need anything, because I found a local carpenter. He built all my furniture, and I mean, it's better furniture I've ever had in the States. The best furniture I've ever had, and it was pretty reasonably priced. To do all my furniture and stuff, and.
So you've had everything custom made.
Yeah, and everything custom made. You can also get it at Costco. Furniture is expensive in Cabo compared to other cities in Mexico, because they're on an island, is what they say.
They have to transport everything.
Yeah, a lot of people fly to what is it, Guadalajara? Is that the furniture capital of Mexico?
Tonala. But yeah,
Oh,
it's near Guadalajara, Tonala. It's
oh,
like
yeah.
about
A
an
lot of
hour.
people fly there to go buy their furniture and then have
Mhm.
it shipped back.
Yeah.
I chose to find a local carpenter because I'm in construction. I wanted him to build me some small stuff first before I had him do my kitchen cabinets, before I had him do other things around the house. So I had him build my nightstands first.
Hmm.
And it turned out perfect. And I said, well, can you build this dresser? Can you build this desk? Can you build my cabinets? And it turned out beautifully. So,
And then you know that the wood is treated in a way that'll withstand the
oh, sure. Yeah.
humidity and those kinds of things where you're not
Yeah.
running an air conditioner to be able to keep the humidity down in those rooms.
Yeah. Or you can order furniture online. You got Mercado Libre. You can order it from Amazon or other websites.
Yeah.
So,
The other thing that a lot of people don't realize is mattress sizes in Mexico are different than in the United States. So if you
yeah.
buy linens and sheets in Mexico for your US mattress or your Canadian mattresses, they probably won't fit. So it's something that a lot of people don't recognize until they might bring their linens from the United States and Canada, rent a house that's fully furnished, and then their linens don't fit. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not going to be a huge difference, but they might not fit like perfectly well. So a queen is not the same size as a queen. It's off by a few centimeters, and that makes all the difference for linens.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so
The thing about you leave your stuff, throw it away, or sell it, or give it to friends and family.
yeah,
You really don't need it here. You're going to find everything you need in Cabo. And I found it as so liberating to get rid of all my junk. You
yeah.
know, and it
Start
was
new.
so nice to just start fresh and brand new.
Yeah.
And you really don't need it, and that stuff just hinders you anyways because you're going to be dragging it around, and you'll get new stuff and you'll be happy.
Yeah. I know a lot of people do end up bringing their things, and I think it is a very personal decision.
Sure.
Some things, they feel they cannot replace. So I do think it's a little bit of a personal decision, but I do agree with you. If it were me, I would probably just, get rid of everything that I have and just start new.
You have to import a lot of that stuff at the border, and they're gonna want to charge you 19%.
16.
So 16%.
16. Yeah. Somebody is bringing up something of being, approached by vendors every 5 minutes if they were, I guess, in a touristic part of Los Cabos. How do you feel about that? That the hustle culture of touristic spots like Los Cabos?
How do I feel about it?
Yeah, have you experienced that yourself? Like if you're
Yes.
walking down the corridor where all the bars and restaurants are.
Yeah, there's there's a lot of tourist attractions here. I don't mind it at all. It's a tourist town. I was just the other day walking around the marina, and there's several guys hitting you up for a boat ride or a fishing trip or go to see the Cabo Arch. It doesn't bother me at all. People don't, everything's laid back here and it's so relaxed.
You just
So
politely wave them
yeah,
away and say no thanks and just move on.
yeah.
Yeah. I know a lot of people get annoyed by that, but once you live in a town, specifically a touristic town, this doesn't happen as much in, other cities of Mexico where it's not so touristy. But particularly where a lot of Americans vacation, you'll get that for sure. And yeah, just say no thank you politely and move on. Yeah, some people saying they feel that Mexico is becoming out of reach for them too, because I guess just the prices of things have been consistently going up, and I guess they're referring to cost of living more than anything.
Yeah.
So and for James, he didn't move there to lower his cost of living, so I don't know that he will be able to give you any insight to that. But I can personally tell you that there's people living on all kinds of budgets. I belong to a Facebook group that's called Living in Mexico Under $1,200 a month. And all those people, all they do is post monthly, like there's new members all the time, and all they do is post what they rent for, like what their rental costs are, how much their grocery bills are, what part of Mexico they live in, and how they're able to achieve that. So you can get like a realistic idea of somebody who's living on $1,200 a month. I do think $1,200 a month is a very, very limited budget. Like you will not be living like a king. So I do want to set the expectation right that you're not going to be like, extravagantly living, but it is possible. And then at the very same token, it's very possible to spend $5, 6, 7, 8, 9, $10,000 a month in Mexico too. So I think there's a country for everyone, and it's not like one budget for everyone. It varies so much.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. Let's see. Have you seen some houses? So, by the way, for those of you who do not know, James is a realtor, and he has been. How long have you been a realtor for now in Los Cabos?
Oh, for about 4 months now.
Okay.
But I've been involved in real estate ever since I was 18. I bought my first house, and I've been a real estate investor full time probably for the past 10 years. So I mean, I bought and sold 700 properties, so I know a lot about real estate.
Yeah. But particularly if somebody's looking at Los Cabos and particularly Cabo San Lucas.
For a 3-bedroom home they're looking for?
Yeah. So just, and it all depends, I'm sure, in the neighborhood and what amenities it has and whether it has an ocean view or not and those kinds of things. But let's just give somebody like a middle of the road what they can be looking at.
Yeah, for a condo, let's just start with a condo, then we'll go into a house. Like a condo, you could probably get a condo around 300,000, brand new. Like if you want to buy new construction, 80% of the homes in Cabo that are under construction are condos. So it's pretty rare to find a home, here, because a lot of the stuff is going up as condos. So usually about 300. I mean, they can go up to 3 million depending on how fancy you want it. But you can get a nice condo for 300,000. 12 to 1,500 square feet, brand new construction. A home, you're going to probably be looking close to 400,000 to 600,000. For 1,500 square foot home to 2,000 square foot home, depending on the area. You might be able to get one for 400. Depending how patient you are and what section of town. I mean, there's a lot of deals to be found here. But it just depends on where you want to live, and if you want to do a remodel, a lot of people don't want to do it. It's kind of a pain in the ass here, compared to the States. And if you want to get your hands dirty, there's a lot of bargains to make. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I moved out here, because it's great for real estate investing. So, and the market's always going to be secure. I mean, the average temperature is 82 degrees year round. I mean, it's beautiful. Who wouldn't want to live here? So,
yeah. Plus, I mean, it's gorgeous. The landscape is beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. The city's beautiful. The beaches are beautiful. The mountains are beautiful. The people are beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Humidity levels. So what levels are we talking about? I mean, it's averaging like in the 40, 60% year round, James. Is that accurate?
I would say, yeah, it's between the 40 and 70%. The worst I've seen it was like 92 degrees with 75% humidity. That was like on the worst day. And
that's pretty humid.
Yeah, it's pretty humid. So, but I mean, I don't know. If I could take it, anyone can take it. So, and I hate humidity. So,
yeah.
I'd say it's like San Diego summer, a little bit warmer, but like a San Diego summer. I lived in San Diego for 3 years. So.
Yeah. And then, I think it's all relative. Like Jennifer says, she's visited Cabo many times at different times of the year. The humidity has never bothered her. Like in other parts, like in Cancun, Puerto Vallarta, Mazatlan, Mérida.
Oh, if you can handle those cities, you can definitely handle Cabo. It's far less humid here than any other beach town in Mexico.
Yeah. So for those of you who have been asking me, like, how could I get in touch with not only James, but a realtor in the area? In our Complete Mexico Relocation Guide, we do give you a directory of realtors that we recommend and that you can work with. To get access to that relocation guide, you do have to buy the guide first. It's a one-time fee. You get lifetime access, and you get instant access to our recommended contacts. We have realtors in there, not only for Los Cabos, but really anywhere in Mexico. And they're not only dealing with $700,000 homes, they're dealing with homes in all budgets. We also have a lot of realtors that focus on rentals only, so that, if you're not looking to buy a house, you can definitely rent in Mexico. And in fact, a lot of our customers and a lot of people who watch this channel rent forever. They don't ever buy a house because they don't see the need to. So if you want access to that directory, the link will be in the comments section. It's mexicorelocationguide.com/guide. Before I sign off with James, I'm just gonna ask him, like, any words of advice for somebody who's thinking, like, I want to move to Mexico, I want to move to Los Cabos, but I'm not sure if it's right for me. Who do you think that maybe Los Cabos is not right for?
Not right for someone that can't deal with change.
Mm-hmm.
Someone that's not good at overcoming obstacles and challenges. I mean, just everyday challenges like, paying your electricity bill because you can't pay it online. You have to go down to the office to pay it, and when you get there, there's no one that speaks English, so you got to either ask someone for help or figure it out yourself. It just takes a lot of patience, and it's an amazing city. And, it's increased my patience tenfold, and I need to still work on my patience, and I can't say enough good things about Cabo. It's the most beautiful city in the world, I think.
Yeah.
So I truly love it here. The people are amazing. The beaches are amazing. And it's just.
The weather is nice.
Oh, the weather's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
You do have to pay a premium for living in a premium city. And I would consider Los Cabos to be more of a premium city.
I'm a pretty bit extreme person. I like no one sells their house, and all their possessions just gets in a car and goes. I probably did it the wrong way that most people are going to do it, because I drove down here buying a lot that I wanted to build my house on, and then I bought another house, and I hadn't even gotten approved for residency yet. This was even before I even got approved for a residency. So, I brought the paperwork to the Mexican consulate, and I said, look, I bought 2 parcels of 2 properties in Mexico. I'm in. I'm not going anywhere. Get me approved, please. And luckily I got a permanent residency right off the bat. But it's not for everyone, but I mean, yeah, I love it. I mean, I wanted a change in my life, and it's been one of the best decisions of my life.
Yeah. I want to mention something because, I don't think James is saying that, like, you expect somebody to speak English in Mexico. That's not what he's referring to at all.
Yeah.
I think he's saying, like, it's frustrating when you're trying to communicate something. You can't type it fast enough on Google Translate. And, it's a lengthy thing that you're trying to explain. You're not going to sit there and translate it all. Some of you will, but it's just one of those frustrations that you have to learn to deal with, that you will have to learn Spanish, that you will have to try to learn the language, that things are going to be different, that things are in a different language, that those kinds of things. So just, keep that in mind. Like when we say that somebody gets frustrated because somebody at the Electricity Commission doesn't speak English, it's not because they expect them to speak English. It's because they don't know how to speak Spanish. So just keep that in mind. It's one of the things that you will have to learn when you move to a Spanish-speaking country, is learn a new language. So anyway, just throwing that out there because I don't want anybody to think that.
I want to say that, my Spanish is horrible. So I try to learn every day. It was the only class in school I did horrible at. I failed it miserably. I had a brain for math and for business, and just Spanish was not my strong suit, but I try to learn every day, new words and stuff. But it comes easy for most, and challenging for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So everyone here is typically both the Mexican culture is here to help you. They're extremely genuine people, and they're very patient, 10 times more patient than my country. So
Exactly.
they'll help you in any way that they can. So.
Yeah, as long as you're trying to learn and genuinely trying to continue learning, and don't be afraid to practice it out in the world. Like actually, try to speak it, because it's very different to read it and Duolingo it, and then very different to listen to it and then respond to it when you hear it out on the street. But just keep trying, guys. I mean, it's just one day at a time. It's all part of the journey of moving to Mexico. So James, I want to thank you. Unless you have anything else to say to our audience, I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Oh, okay. It was a pleasure. I really enjoyed it. Thanks so much for inviting me.
Yeah. And for all of you at home, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you guys have a happy holiday, a safe one. I hope that you're surrounded by people at home that you love, or doing the things that you like the most. I hope that you get to actually take some time off from your hectic schedule. I know I'm going to try to, at least for a little bit. And I hope you have a safe New Year. This will probably be the last live stream for the year. But I have a ton of updates coming soon in 2025 regarding the residency visa process, the requirements for residency visa, the RNE program, and so many different updates that we have for you guys coming soon in 2025. So stay tuned for our next live stream where we're going to cover a lot of those updates, because I'm sure you guys are anxious to know what those things are. So thank you all so much for joining me today. Feliz Navidad.
If anyone has any questions, I mean, I don't know if you want to give them my contact information. I can help them any way that I can.
We'll discuss it after the live stream.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
Well, it was wonderful talking to you. You guys have a wonderful night.
Thank you, James. Thank you so much.
You take
Adios,
care.
everyone.
Bye.